Okay, so hi, Laurie.
Hi,
Thank
Fran.
Thanks for spending a little bit of time talking about providing this testimonial for the neurofeedback training that your son got with us at Bhakti Brain Health Clinic. I'm just wondering if you might just take a couple of minutes just to share with us what brought you to the clinic in the first place.
Oh, I know what brought us to the clinic. So our son has been all the testing that they do to determine an educational diagnosis. I forget what
Mhm.
that's called.
So the neuropsychological testing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So our son was neuropsych tested, and what we knew was that he was twice exceptional. Since a very early age, he had been suffering from ADHD, and also what we later learned was disability. He's gifted. And the way that showed up was it was hard for him to take direction from other people. It was hard for him to maintain focus in school. Nothing seemed very challenging. And his motivation was really, really low. And so we tried a number of different therapies. We tried the ADHD medications. We tried talk therapy, and no combination of any of those things was working. And I actually saw a posting on LinkedIn. Someone that I knew had brought her son for neurofeedback therapy. And what she had said was that she had a child who was very, very angry, and it was hard to even have a family dinner. And that after this therapy, it was so much better. And my husband and I took a look at it. We had our son tested at age 7, and he's now age 16. And after years and years of trying, we just didn't know what else to do. And so we tried it.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So when your son started with us, was he 16 at the time or was he 15? I feel like he might have been 15 and turned 16.
He was, I think he had just turned 16. So we had the initial screening, and that was right before the summer break. So it was the summer of his sophomore year. He was having a very, very difficult time in school. Although testing at a gifted level, IQ-wise, the grades were failing, couldn't stay in class. And, he was really struggling, just he himself. He was uncomfortable all the time. He said he had 1,000 things going on in his head. And so it was then over the course of the summer that we initiated the neurofeedback sessions. We started out with 40 sessions. Initially, he said that they just made him really tired. There was a little bit of resistance. It seemed boring. It seemed like, he wasn't seeing like immediate impact, but we encouraged him to keep going. And really, we didn't know the full kind of benefit that we would have until really the school year started. So it was, June, July, August, he had sessions, 2 to 3 a week. And in September, it was like he was a new kid. He himself, in his own body, was so much more calm, was able to, really carry on a thoughtful conversation, social interactions way up. And then he said, this is the first time I haven't just wanted to escape the classroom. I can actually, I'm interested. I always wanted to learn. I just didn't have the attention for it. And so since that time, now in his junior year, he's had pretty much all A's. Not only that, one day he came home and he said, hey, I went out for theater. And we were like, oh, really? Okay. And he got one of the lead roles in a one-act play. And that play ended up going all the way to state competition. So not only, is he feeling better, he's more confident, he sees a future, his executive function seems much stronger than it ever has been. Now that could be just getting older. I understand that happens with age, but it absolutely coincided with his neurofeedback therapy. And he himself is the one, we left it up to him. We said, do you want to continue? Do you want to go on maintenance? And he said, yes, absolutely. I want this for my life. So for us, it's been life-changing.
That's pretty powerful to hear that. It almost sounds like you now are seeing the son that's always been there, but was kind of masked behind some of the challenges that he was experiencing. that were likely coming from some of the dysregulation that we worked with as he did his neurofeedback training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was buried under there.
I loved what you said about like when you were talking about how he was bored at first, really not particularly interested, maybe even a little bit resistant. But at some point in time that switched and he started kind of wanting to continue to come in to focus, that sort of thing. And so I'm appreciating that, because we see that a lot, I think, with not only with kids, but certainly with kids, where it is just kind of boring for them to start to, because there's a lot of repetition. Yeah. So that's wonderful to hear. Will you remind me? I know that, he did the in-clinic training. Was he also using the audiovisual entrainment at home? No. Okay.
No, he just did the in-clinic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Yep. So is there, as you think about his training, like from a parental standpoint, what seems to be the most profound thing that you've noticed in terms of the changes that have occurred?
I mean, it's all profound. I mean, it's just, as a parent, I really didn't know what his future would hold. When you don't have the frustration that he had was immense. No motivation. I mean, there were times when I, feared the worst. I just didn't know what the future would hold. And now it's all wide open. It's all possibility.
Fantastic. It's exciting for him, isn't it? Yeah.
It's super exciting. We're going to go see colleges now. And he's planning his future.
Well, that's good to hear. That's a lovely success story for him, and speaks to, like, I'm appreciating that you as parents encouraged him to kind of hang in there, and that he, at some level could tap into that wanting it to be different and do the hanging in there until it really started to make some change. Yeah.
I mean, at some point he must have felt something different happening. And, we saw it too peripherally, but, honestly, you can't tell 15 or 16-year-olds a lot. They're pretty smart at that age.
Yeah.
You have to sort of listen and let them guide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. Is there anything else? I've given you some guided direction in terms of sort of what I was interested in hearing, but is there anything else that you would want to add to what we've been talking about?
I would say that I was personally very intrigued with the results from the initial evaluation, learning about the 8 different networks in the brain, learning that dysregulation can happen in any one of those, the ability to really identify and pinpoint where the troubled areas might be. I was appreciative of how you took us through the science and explained what you saw happening and how you hoped to change that. It made sense to us.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Yeah. And it's important, right, to have that sense of grounding and that sense of understanding of, like, you're saying we're going to get to point B. How do we do that, right? That sort of thing. So yeah, great. Fantastic. I know in the clinic, we greatly appreciated, seeing your son here on a regular basis and watching the growth that happened with him. It's for us on our end, we get to see it on a daily basis, objectively, as we watch what's going on with his EEG and, following all of that. But then to hear kind of how it is being experienced on your end is kind of the priceless piece. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And I mean, from a family perspective, you're only as happy as your least happy child. I think, is that how the saying goes? So, it's been good for all of us, because now that Owen is more settled and has motivation and direction, we all feel better.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to close the recording.